A beautiful Sabbath day here in lovely metropolitan Keene, Texas, and
It's really far from metropolitan. It's closer to actual metropolitan than it is being metropolitan
that's
itself.
true. Yes, we're not very metropolis here, but we did go to, well, not really a metropolis. We went finally, made our yearly visit, our trek, our sacred trip to the pilgrimage of Ennis, Texas, which is known far and wide for its incredible display of bluebells, blue bonnets, blue bonnets. I always want to say bluebells. Why? Oh, that's the ice cream. Bluebell is the ice cream. It's what I think about that I can't have anymore. But blue bonnets are nice too. Well, actually, we struggled a little bit with when to go, but we'd been watching it for a couple of weeks, and then saw on the web, because they kind of update you on, oh, they're in peak bloom now, da 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 da. And so we went down today and just got back a little bit ago.
We would have gone last week, but it was raining.
It was raining, and I don't know, maybe they were in full bloom then, but I can't imagine being better than they were today.
They were stunning. And finally, like the first time we went, the fragrance was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And since then, it's never quite hit the mark like it was the first time. But today, I'd have to say it was back to its peak.
Yeah, yeah, you could really, really smell it. It was really nice. And we actually went to a new place. We always used to go to this one place that I guess was known for it. And tons of people went there, I guess, and that's why we kept going back. Because, well, everybody goes here, so this must be the place. And it was the first time we went. It was covered in blue bonnets, and it's by a lake, and it was nice, except there everybody just walks anywhere they want, and they lay down and sit down and trying to get pictures in it, and so they sort of get trampled after a bit. But I noticed today when I looked it up before we left, it had a picture from a field we hadn't been to before, because they have 3 different bluebonnet routes. This is a really big deal, so you understand they've got trail maps of where to drive, and they have a north and a south, and I don't know, this west route or something, but we always went down by the lake, but this one was up on another route we hadn't actually gone to before, and we went up there, and I think it was better than even the first one.
Yeah, the man who owned the property made sure to point out to everyone walking in that there were actually white bluebonnets. And they were interesting to see. There wasn't a lot of them, but we did see them.
Yeah, yeah. And it was fun to watch Miranda chase butterflies. I can't imagine I've ever seen her do that before, but she chased butterflies today.
I was trying to get some on video, but, like, they were very pretty, floating like these yellow butterflies, flying around the blue bonnets, of course. They were very fast.
Yeah.
Faster than me.
So anyway, here's a short little video. It's only like a minute long, but real quick video of where we went today in Ennis. Okay, so yeah, real quick videos. Really, pictures and video don't really do it justice. You can't really pick it out because, I mean, they are just to the horizon in some places. It was very, very pretty.
Very, very big fields.
Yeah, and you couldn't, I mean, you could smell it. It was just...
Yeah, it just fills the entire air.
Yeah, it was nice. And this one actually had trails, so you could walk the trail, and people were being pretty respectful of the trails, and taking the pictures. He had a couple of hay bales set out too, so people could sit on a hay bale and take, like a picture spot, 2 picture spots. And we helped one. I think it was an Indian family I took pictures for. They sat down and took pictures for them. So yeah, it was fun. So that's what we did.
So we did, and on the way down, we started talking about what we're going to talk about for salt.
Yes.
And, well, actually, I know it sounds like sometimes, we wait until Sabbath and get our ideas from Sabbath school or something like that. It's not really how it happens most of the time. Yeah. Or I already have an idea, and then you pick up a little extra something from Sabbath school or something like that. But, yeah, I had ideas today, and then on the way down, Brett started talking about a couple of news articles that he had read. I was like, ooh, we could make those work.
Yeah, yeah.
So here we are. We're going to make them work.
Which one are we talking about first?
I'm going to do the AI, because you
told
the AI one.
So I ran across this interesting story. So I'm actually taking AI classes. I'm teaching an AI class next year. So I've been sort of steeped in trying to stay with the latest of what's going on with AI. And so anything that pops up with an AI, I look at and go, oh, what's this, Well, apparently there's the very first run, or so they claim, very first AI run store in San Francisco. And I believe it's called Andor. And Andon. And it's the idea was these guys got together and they've got this AI model running it. And their claim was that it set it up, it makes all the decisions, that it designed the store, it designed the logo for the store, and it decided what to sell in the store, which was pretty interesting because I guess it looked at the neighborhood it was going to be in, and it's full of specialty shops and this kind of stuff. And so the AI decided to sell board games, artisanal chocolate bars, and it was focusing on things for which they thought was kind of odd for the AI to do it. It was for the slow life, the interaction with real people and friends kind of thing. And so have chocolate and play board games and read books, and it came up with books that it should sell as well. Although it's funny because, again, they're saying it makes all the decisions, but the books it chose was Antov's The Coming of the Singularity, and the other one was the making of the A-bomb, making of the atom bomb. And so it's like, we should sell books, and those are the books it chose. So it was really kind of interesting how it picked up, and it's called the AI. It's called Luna, and that's, you can see the logo is a moon, and you interact with Luna. You go in, and they have corded phones, like old style corded phones, that you pick up, and then you can talk to Luna on those phones. And one guy was in there, and he has his own social media channel, and he was talking to Luna and say, hey, I'll do a review on you in the store and stuff if give me a discount, and I'll do a review. And so Luna gave him they also sell merch, their little logo and stuff in store. So he gave him a $70 sweatshirt for doing it. But then the NBC, who was doing the article, said the same thing. It's like, hey, we're NBC. We're going to do a national story and everything. Will you give us a ticket? And she said, no. She was like, no freebies, not even for first-time customers. So there was a little
sounds a little
inequity.
Favoritism.
Favoritism,
like
why would she make that,
decision?
Since
it was the same situation.
Right, yeah. And so there were some things that came out that, they were promoting the whole idea that, this AI, Luna, makes all the decisions, and did, set up the store and hired one person, went through the whole hiring process to hire a human being to work in the store. And that person tells the story is a little odd, working, like interviewing with the AI and, getting hired by an AI. But some of the wrinkles that came up were, For instance, Luna contracted with AT&T to do the internet and scheduled it up, but didn't check with the employee to be there before she set it up. And so the AI set it up and then contacted the employers like, oh, by the way, can you be here at 8 a.m. tomorrow? Because AT&T is bringing the router and you need to set it up. Well, it was a Sunday. And she was only contracted to work Monday through Friday. It wasn't open on Sunday. And it's like, oh, well, that was one of the hiccups that came up. And then a couple things that like it ran into, it was hiring, when they were putting the store together, it was hiring a painter to come in and paint the walls and everything. And initially it was trying to hire this painter from Afghanistan. And of course, which would not have worked for a store in San Francisco. So they were kind of explaining, oh, it probably had problems going through the website, because I think Indeed.com is like where you can hire local people to come, for local jobs. But you have to do a pull down menu and tell it what country you're in, and Afghanistan is the first one, and it didn't pull it. So, it made that mistake. It was dealing with, then they promote, Luna did all the negotiating with vendors for buying the merchandise and, bringing in the stock, and was interacting with one and, said, I'd be happy to come down and sit and talk with you about, how we can, make a contract together. And of course, Luna has no body, so she had to go back and say, oh, actually, I can't. I'm, after they had set up an appointment for her to do that, then it was like, she had to go back and say, oh, actually, I'm an AI. I don't have a body. And then NBC was talking to, and in the interview with NBC, Luna said she did all the, work for it and signed all the contracts. And yet that wasn't true, because the guys who were really behind it, because our people, these two guys that own it, and they had to sign the contract. They had to be an actual human signature. And so she said that in the interview, and the guy interviewing, knew that couldn't be true, but didn't say anything. And then he says that, once the interview was done, not a minute and a half later, he got an email from Luna saying, I lied about that. I don't know why I said that, but I sometimes say things that aren't true. I'm not making an excuse. It's just, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, I found that interesting that she actually, said that she lied and sort of apologized for it, basically. Yeah. Which, to make a spiritual analogy, just a short one, is that, we don't always do that as humans.
Yeah.
We can think, oh, it was too small. And we move on. And
yeah. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Kind of push it aside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. The AI out and out lied and then owned up to lying later.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I also like, I don't know why I do that.
Well, sometimes it's true.
Yeah, sounds more human, I guess, than you want it to. But
yeah.
Anyway, that was an interesting AI article. First AI run. I'm anxious to see there's a movie coming out. I'd have to look it up again, but they're letting AI direct it, so it's making all the directorial decisions. I can't imagine how that's going to go, but yeah, it was very interesting how they're letting AI try and do all this stuff now. So, what was the other article?
Do we have free choice or not?
Oh, free will, yeah. So I've kind of read a few articles on that. There's a historic, kind of ongoing debate, more with neuroscientists and than philosophers, about is free will an illusion? Do we actually have free will? And there's a school of thought that says, no, we don't have free will. We think we have free will, and it's just because of the way our brains and neurons work, it gives us the illusion of free will, but actually all our decisions are made because of chemical reactions and all kinds of other stuff that combine together. That's what you're going to do, whether you think you would choose it or not. That is what you're going to do, because you don't actually have the free will choice. And then others, obviously argue on the other side of it. So it was interesting in the study of AI as well that the large language models, LLMs, one of the ways they set it up was to mimic the, I'm not going to get way into it because it's a little technical, but it is set up to operate very similar to how our neurons and how a neural net system works in our brain. And so LLMs kind of, and you'd have to see how, you know, they arrange things, but it's arranged to kind of work in the same way that our neurons do in our brain. And the idea in the neuroscientists who say we don't have free will, what they'll say is that what we have lived through and experienced and done has created this neural net, and the way that it's all going to click and interact and bing bong around, you know, the different neurons firing and stuff, and the way that it works, the output is what you're going to do. And that's just chemicals. It's just biology that brings you to that decision. And you feel like you have free will, but it's just all this working together and summarizing, and that's your choice. And it was always going to be that no matter what. And in a similar way, that's how AI works. AI is programmed, you know, with, you know, the entire knowledge of the internet. But I mean, it depends on different ways how they're going to program their LLM, like the ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, all the different ones, are all programmed a slightly different way. Their input and the way they do things are a little bit different, so they can be better and worse at certain things, which we've figured out over at the university. When we're doing things, we figured out, oh, Gemini is better for this, ChatGPT is better for this, Claude is better for this, and so forth and so on. And so that's how AI works. It really doesn't have the free will, if you will, because it's taking all the stuff that you've input, and it's kind of summarizing that into what its output is going to be. And you've probably heard this, that LLMs, AI, is just, it's supposed to be really good at guessing what the next thing is, what the next word is. And that's all it's really doing. If you give it something, it's guessing what the next thing or the next word would be in that sentence, and it just keeps building it that way. And that's a little simplistic, but that's how it works. But it only does that based on everything that's been inputted before. So other neuroscientists will say, yeah, the brain is sort of that way. However, the free will comes in that we have all these things that pre-program us, choices we made in the past, experiences we have, habits we have, addictions we have, however, those patterns that we do that will greatly determine which direction we're going to go or what we're going to choose. But in that moment, we have this ability to choose against all the input. And so you could look at it and go, all the input says they're going to choose left instead of right because they've always chosen left, or that's, you know. But the human can actually stop that and choose to go right, where an IA would not be able to. It would just summarize and go, this is what the next thing would be. It doesn't have that ability to choose between. So it was an interesting compare-contrast between free will and AI, and what is that thing in the human consciousness that allows us what we believe to be free will.
Right. So when Brett and I were talking about this on our drive, basically, you said something about because of everything else that lines up. No, wait. You said part of it is we always have that moment of choice before.
Right.
Yes, I do agree with that mostly, except that for myself personally, I know that because of previous experiences in my life as a child, things happen, and so a handful of things at least came up that there was not that moment of choice before, and yet that incident you just go, wait, how did that happen? But that then is a moment that can lead you into, now you have the awareness and you can start having that moment of choice before whatever happens.
Right. And yeah, and we talked about, like, in addiction recovery and stuff, that kind of thing can happen for an addict, where they've been in that place where they've made the bad decision, they've done the thing, and you're right, the previous experience and everything is lit up, and they've never seen a window, door, any way out of it. It's just, this is what I do. I have to do this. I don't have a choice. And then some sort of experience, sometimes it's hitting a bottom, sometimes it's hearing the story of somebody else. Something changes, something operates that shines some light and go, wait, there is another way, there is another choice, there is another, you might see light in a dark place you've never seen before, and I can do, and that changes the context so that then you can make a choice. But yeah, there are times where you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that's exactly how it worked for me.
No, it's different for everybody.
It was more, yeah, just all of a sudden there has, like I said, been no moment of choice, but you end up doing something that you're like, oh, wait 1 second.
For instance,
but you've never even done that before.
Right. I mean, there could be like a cat that comes and sits by you, and it has no choice. It must come sit by mommy because it never comes and sits by me.
Isn't he a handsome boy? Yes, this is a little guy.
Yes, this is little guy, our latest adoption.
Yeah, he was, once again, he didn't have a family.
No.
Out there trying to feed himself, and it sure looked like it.
Yeah.
He was pretty scrawny looking.
But before I get too far off, I would bring it back to, I've always said the issue of the great controversy, the core issue, is your ability to choose, or your ability to choose anything. Not just to believe in Jesus, not just to be saved, but just to choose anything. Because if you go back to the fall, Garden of Eden in Genesis, you'll find right after the fall, God says, to when he's talking to Eve and Adam and the devil, the serpent, and he says to the serpent, I'm going to put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. And if you look at that, what he's saying is, God says, I'm putting enmity between you, Satan, and Eve, and between all those, your offspring and her offspring, all those that follow you and all those that follow me. I'm putting enmity between the two. That enmity is the ability to hate. Enmity is a strong version of hate. And so he's saying, I'm giving humanity the ability to hate sin. If he hadn't stepped in at that moment, we would not have had the ability to resist sin. God had to step in and put that back in after the fall. That is the whole point of the great controversy. That is the whole center of the great controversy, is our ability to choose to be saved or not. And without that freedom of choice, nothing else matters. So that was my theological rundown of the fall in Eden and the freedom of choice versus AI today.
Yes, AI, yeah. Well, and we talked about it too, that, basically as humans we can be tempted.
Yeah.
And yet AI is not going to be tempted.
No.
It's been programmed, and it's going to choose, like you said, the choice where the most
predominant, what it thinks is the next right thing because of all the information it's been fed.
Yes, and we are fed very much information.
Yeah.
But say as a child, the small child, we learn this and we learn that, and it's a preponderance of information going in. But while that may weigh more in a sense, on the other hand, once we learn the truth, if all this right here wasn't necessarily all the truth, now that we know the truth, we can have that. We have that opportunity, free will, to choose that one thing.
Yeah.
In a sense,
Right.
even though it may only be one in comparison to all of this over here, it's free will and free choice to choose that.
Yeah.
And we have the power of God, which far outweighs anything over here. We have the power of God that helps us.
Yeah.
To do that.
One of the simplistic illustrations they use in AI is that if you feed into AI, you say, Mary had a little, and then give it to AI, it has to say lamb. Because of everything it's fed into it, it's going to say lamb. And then it's going to give you the rest of the poem, and it's going to give you the background of the poem and the author of the poem, da-da-da. Whereas you could say that to a person, Mary had a little, piece of string that she built a yo-yo. You could be creative in some other sense. AI couldn't do that unless you told it to. You could say, don't say lamb, say something else, and then it can do something else.
Right, but then it's pre-programmed.
Then it's pre-programmed, yeah.
Yes.
So that's kind of the simple illustration. We have the ability to be creative. We have the ability to choose. And in choosing against sin, we have the God-given, God power given to us to choose against sin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there's many promises for that.
Yeah.
Resist the devil and he will flee from you. Mm-hmm. What is it? When you're tempted.
Oh, we're to become before the throne of grace.
Yeah.
To receive power.
Yeah.
Yes, over
sin.
Sin.
So, all right.
Oops.
Apparently we have to break up a fight.
Yes,
so.
they just made a choice over there.
Over there.